Hi. Two of you last time, and yes, there's so few of you that I actually could count them, I complained about the audio quality. So, in your honor, how's that? Better? I'm assuming yes. In this video, I want to show you how quick you can get set up with the Unity Input Manager. I'm just gonna go ahead and start the timer now and get going because I can describe it more to you as I'm creating the project. So let's call it Quick Actions, Create Project. So the new Unity Input Manager is a system that's been developed, actually it's not that new anymore, it's been a few years, to replace the old Input Manager, which was very code heavy and required you to do a lot of mapping by yourself and reading values and so on and so forth. And also wasn't particularly great when you wanted to support multiple input devices like, say, a PlayStation 4 controller and an Xbox controller, because they'd have different button mappings. This kind of unifies all of that, plus flight sticks, plus whatever other input means, including touchscreen means, into just one neat package that is incredibly easy to use and very nice to work with. I'm gonna quickly show you how to do it. If you want a more comprehensive look at it, there is somebody, and I'm gonna link their video in the description on screen somewhere, that goes into very great detail on how to use it correctly. But this is just a speed run through how to get it set up fast. So we have a completely new project that I've just created. Let's create a cube, and this is the thing we're gonna move. Let's create, and that should be enough for now. And the first things that we need to do is install it. Install the new input manager. It's called Input System, I think. You go to your package manager, Unity repository, Input System. Wait. Install. And that's gonna do the clickety clackety we're doing the thing that we're installing. Any minute now. And once it finishes installed, it's gonna ask us to restart Unity. Yes, please. There is an option later on where you can select to use both the old input system and the new one, but I honest to God have no idea why you'd want to do that. There are ways to use the new one in the same manner as the old one, so might as well just commit. So we got it installed. Fantastic. Let's create ourselves a new input actions. This is basically a sort of input mapping file that allows you to set your keyboard and mouse and so on and so forth. So let's call it input mappings. Marvelous. Double click. And I like to dock this window here so I can have quick access to it. First things first, new action map, and let's call it move. Sorry, not move. New action map. Let's call it player action map. So an action map is basically the object that your input, this current mapping system, is supposed to edit. You can have a player action map, a menu action map, etc., etc. Maybe you have different types, like you have driving and on foot, and this is how you define those differences. And then for each player action map, you need to define your actions. So with this one, let's have an action of move, and maybe we also have an action of jump. The action of move in here, we want to say action type is value. So it gives us the exact value of the input device that's been pressed from 0 to 1 on a range. And the control type, we're going to call it vector 2, because we want it to give us bidirectional controls. So up, down, left, right, etc., etc. And in here, we want, because for keyboard and mouse, we want to do an add up, down, left, right composite, because for keyboard you don't have a joystick type input, so you need to map 4 buttons to it. So you do 2D vector, let's call it keyboard, why not? For up, and this is the really cool bit, for up, you click up, you select path, you click listen, and type the key, and there you go. Down, path, listen, S. Left, path, listen, A. Right, path, listen, D. And you're done mapping that. Jump is only a button, so that should be pretty fun. I still like to put it as value, but control type is button in this case. And no bindings, we call it space. Et voila. Now we have keyboard for up, down, left, right, and jump. So, oh, and we need to remove this because we don't need it right now. Save this. You can turn on autosave, but I found it's a bit buggy. It's better just to press the save button. Now with that done, we go on the cube and we add a input, player input component. and we drag our action map into the action section. We want to change the behavior from send messages to invoke Unity events. I will recommend you watch the video that I'm going to link in the description to find out how all of those work, but I like using Unity events because it's easier for me. And as you see under events player action map, you have the move and jump events, actions, that we've created. We're going to use those in a second. Lastly, we need to create ourselves a script. There we map the actions to what we want the cube to do. So let's just call it cube movement. Why not? Create that. And we, come on, open Visual Studio so we can start coding our movement. So, in here, we need to add two new methods. One is called public void movement, or move, I think I call it move. Call back context. And callback context is basically the information that's passed through us from that Unity event with the button that's been pressed, basically, or the action that's been made. We add ourselves a static Unity engine input system input action, et voila. And in here, what we want to do is let's create ourselves a new vector2 cube move, and we say cube move equals context dot read value of vector2. That is it. Then we need to create one for the jump, so public void jump, still a callback context of context. And in here we go, first a sec, float jump. And in here we say public void jump equals context dot read value of float, because the jump action is just a unidirectional. I press the button, I release it. There's not much to go on. That's all lovely. Once that is done, what we want to do is go back into Unity, and now we'll see that under events, etc., we'll add to a event to each action mapping. We drag the cube in each, and then from no function we select cube movement, and you'll see they're populated up here because they have the correct callback context. So we put, which one was this? Oh, this one was move. Cube movement to move, and cube movement to jump. Et voila. And now the last thing is to actually make the cube do something with this information. So in the update, because these will trigger every time a button is pressed or a value is changed or whatever from your input, it will automatically update all the variables in here. So all we have to do is update is do our animations, etc. So we'll just go transform.translate vector free. Let's say, sure, why not, new vector free, and we'll make our cube on the x-axis go to cube move.x, nothing on the y-axis, and then cube move.y on the z-axis. And this should make it go forward or backwards from the camera, as well as left, right. And then we want to do a transform.translate new vector for, is it vector free? Yes. Vector free of 0, then of jump, and then of 0. This is not going to be entirely accurate, but good enough. And now, I think that is it. We press play. Whoa! Well, it's a bit sensitive. And it's not going to come down. But it works. Let's just divide this a little bit so it's not going quite a million miles an hour every time. Whee! And if we want the jump to actually, if we want a quick and dirty fix to the jump actually working correctly, we'll just do rigid body on the cube and use gravity. And that's just basically gonna make it do. I need to unsensitize this a little bit. There we go. It's kind of jumping. It's not really, because I'm supposed to do a force. You know what? Let's try and do a force real quick. So rigid body RB dot equals get component of rigid body. So it gets the cube's rigid body, and in here, instead of this nonsense, we'll just go RB dot add force of, well, of exactly this. Not enough force? Maybe not enough force. Times 10. Whee! 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 And that is it. Very simple, very straightforward. No complicated things, nothing. And I will highly recommend that you watch the video I'm gonna link if you actually want to use this in your production games, because it is amazing what you can do with it. But yeah, that's been me. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time. And please, 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 it will help me very much if you subscribe. I am trying to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours to enable monetization on YouTube. Those are the requirements right now, because I'd like to be able to make like $1 off of these. Hopefully one day. All right, peace.